Every woman over 45 has done it. You look at yourself in the mirror from a 3/4 angle, not the straight-on angle that photographs are taken at, but the side view that you catch accidentally in a reflection, in a car window, in a phone camera held slightly below your chin. And you see it. The jawline that used to be a clean line from your ear to your chin is no longer clean. There is a slight descent, a softness where there used to be definition. The beginning of what your mother called jowls, and what you promised yourself you would never have. And then you pull the skin back with your fingertips. Just slightly. Just enough to see what your jawline would look like if it held its position the way it did 10 years ago. And the face looking back at you in the mirror is a face you recognize, a face that used to be yours, a face that is still yours, structurally, underneath the sagging, but that you do not see anymore in any mirror that is not helping. That moment, the moment you realize the difference between where your jawline is and where it used to be, is no longer subtle. That moment is why the facelift industry exists. That moment is why cosmetic surgeons in America perform over 100,000 surgical facelifts every year at an average cost of $15,000 to $30,000 each. That moment is why an entire category of non-surgical treatments, radiofrequency, ultrasound, thread lifts, injectables, has grown into a multi-billion-dollar market that promises to do what surgery does without the recovery time, for prices ranging from $2,000 to $8,000 per session. All of it exists because of that one moment in the mirror. And all of it depends on you believing that the only solution to sagging jowls, the only real solution, the only one that actually works, is expensive, invasive, and requires someone else to do it to you. There is an oil that costs $4, available at any health food store, any well-stocked grocery store, and every natural products retailer in the country. Applied correctly to the jawline every night, with a specific massage technique that takes less than 4 minutes, and that was documented in French dermatology literature in 1978. It addresses the 3 biological mechanisms that create jowls and produces a visible tightening of the jaw area within 2 to 3 weeks. Not equivalent to a facelift. I am not going to make that claim because it would not be honest. A surgical facelift physically repositions tissue. No topical product matches that. But visible, measurable firming of the jowl area that women who follow this protocol consistently describe as making them look 5 to 8 years younger in the lower face. That is what $4 and 4 minutes a night produces. And that is what the facelift industry has spent decades making sure you never understood was possible without their intervention. The oil is argan, pure, cold-pressed, unrefined argan oil. And what it does to the skin of the jawline, in combination with the lymphatic drainage massage that activates it, is documented in dermatological research going back nearly half a century and ignored by an industry that cannot build a $30,000 procedure around a $4 bottle. Welcome to Dr. Redmond. Skincare for women. Let's get into it. Before I give you the protocol, I need to give you the mechanism. Because jowls are not one problem. They are 3 problems stacked on top of each other. And unless you understand all 3, no intervention makes lasting sense. The first problem is collagen and elastin loss in the dermis of the lower face. The skin along the jawline, from the corner of the mouth down to the edge of the jaw, loses structural density at an accelerated rate after 45. Estrogen decline during perimenopause and menopause is the primary driver. Estrogen directly supports collagen synthesis in the skin, and its reduction means collagen production drops at exactly the time when the accumulated damage from decades of UV exposure, oxidative stress, and mechanical movement is degrading the existing collagen faster than ever. The result is skin that loses its elastic recoil. The scaffolding that kept the jawline taut against the underlying bone and muscle becomes sparse, disorganized, less capable of holding tension. The skin begins to descend, not because gravity suddenly got stronger at 45, but because the structural support that resisted gravity has weakened to the point where gravity wins. The second problem is lymphatic stagnation. This is the mechanism that almost no skincare product addresses and that most women have never had explained to them. Your face contains an extensive lymphatic drainage network that clears cellular waste, excess fluid, and inflammatory byproducts from the tissue. That network depends on movement, on the mechanical action of facial muscles during expression, on massage, on physical stimulation, to function efficiently. Unlike your cardiovascular system, which has a pump, your lymphatic system has no pump. It moves when you move it. As we age, we move our faces less. Expressions become more restrained. We spend more hours looking at screens in a neutral expression. The lymphatic fluid that should be draining efficiently away from the jawline begins to accumulate, slowly, imperceptibly, in the tissue. That fluid adds weight to skin that is already losing structural support. It also contributes to the chronic low-grade inflammation that accelerates collagen degradation in the area. The jowls are not just sagging from collagen loss. They are sagging faster because they are heavier than they should be from retained fluid that is not being drained. The third problem is fascial adhesion and muscle tension along the mandible. The superficial fascia, the thin connective tissue layer under your skin, develops adhesions over time. These are small areas where the tissue sticks to itself, creating micro-restrictions that pull the skin in specific directions and create the visible furrows and descents that define the jowl area. Combined with chronic tension in the masseter muscle, the large chewing muscle at the side of the jaw, which holds clenched tension for many women, particularly those who grind their teeth or hold stress in the jaw. These fascial restrictions contribute to the structural distortion that makes jowls look more pronounced than the actual tissue loss would predict. 3 problems: collagen loss, lymphatic stagnation, fascial adhesion, and muscle tension. And the protocol I am about to give you addresses all 3 simultaneously. The oil delivers the structural support for collagen, and the massage technique activates lymphatic drainage while releasing fascial restriction along the jawline. Let me tell you what is inside argan oil and why it is the specific oil that works for this, because there are many facial oils on the market, and most of them will not produce the same result. Argan oil comes from the nut of the argan tree, which grows primarily in Morocco. It has been used by Berber women for centuries for skin application. What modern analysis has revealed about its composition explains why that use has persisted, and why it is the specific oil that the 1978 French study identified as effective for firming the lower face. First, argan oil contains an exceptionally high concentration of oleic acid and linoleic acid, fatty acids that match the composition of healthy human sebum almost exactly. When applied to the skin, argan oil integrates directly into the lipid barrier without sitting on the surface. The skin recognizes it as its own material. This means it penetrates deeply and efficiently into the dermis, carrying its active compounds with it. Second, argan oil contains a high concentration of tocopherols, the vitamin E family, at levels several times higher than olive oil, almond oil, or most commercial facial oils. As I covered in a previous video on this channel, tocopherols are the most potent lipid-soluble antioxidants you can apply topically. In the jawline area, Where oxidative damage is one of the primary drivers of collagen degradation, this antioxidant concentration provides direct protection that slows the rate of structural loss. Third, and this is the compound specific to argan oil that the French research identified as the key firming agent. Argan oil contains chatonol and spinasterol, two phytosterols that have been documented to stimulate fibroblast activity in the dermis. Phytosterols are plant compounds structurally similar to cholesterol, and in skin, they activate the cellular signaling pathways that tell fibroblasts to produce more collagen. Most plant oils contain small amounts of phytosterols. Argan oil contains them at concentrations significantly higher than any other commercially available facial oil, approximately double the concentration found in olive oil, which was the previous standard for topical phytosterol delivery. When argan oil penetrates the dermis of the jawline and reaches the fibroblasts, the chatonol and spinasterol activate collagen synthesis at those cells, at exactly the site where collagen loss is causing the structural descent you see in the mirror. The fatty acids repair the barrier. The tocopherols protect the existing structure from further oxidative damage. The phytosterols stimulate the production of new structural fibers. A $4 oil delivering 3 distinct mechanisms directly to the dermal layer where all 3 matter most. That is the ingredient side of the protocol. Now let me give you the massage, because the oil alone produces results, but the oil combined with the correct massage technique produces dramatic results. And the correct technique is what the 1978 French protocol documented and what the facelift industry has had no reason to teach you. The massage has 3 phases: drainage, release, and lift. Each phase addresses one of the 3 problems: drainage for lymphatic stagnation, release for fascial adhesion, lift for collagen stimulation. 4 minutes total, every night before bed. Here is your exact protocol. Buy pure, cold-pressed, unrefined argan oil. The label should list only one ingredient: argan oil, also sometimes written as Argania spinosa kernel oil. It should be dark amber to yellow gold in color, with a slightly nutty natural scent. If it is pale and odorless, it has been refined and has lost the phytosterols that make it effective. $4 will buy you a small bottle, 1 to 2 ounces, that will last 6 to 8 weeks of nightly use. Larger bottles are available for $10 to $15 and last 4 to 6 months. Every evening, after your full facial cleanse, completely clean skin with no makeup, no SPF residue, no other products on the jawline, you are ready to begin. Warm 4 to 5 drops of argan oil between your palms for 10 seconds. The warmth thins the oil and makes it easier to apply, and it activates your body heat to enhance absorption when it contacts your skin. Phase 1. Drainage. 2 minutes. Using flat fingertips, index, middle, and ring fingers of both hands. Begin with very light pressure at the center of your chin. Using slow, steady strokes, glide the oil along the underside of the jawline, from the center of the chin outward along the mandible, and down the side of the neck to the hollow just above the collarbone. That hollow is where the major lymph nodes for the lower face drain. Each stroke should take approximately 3 to 4 seconds and should end at that hollow. Repeat this drainage stroke 15 to 20 times on each side. Light pressure. Light. The lymphatic vessels are located just under the surface of the skin, and heavy pressure bypasses them by compressing the deeper tissue. The goal is skin-level contact with gentle, consistent direction toward the drainage point at the collarbone. You will feel something by the end of the drainage phase: a lightness in the jaw area, a sense of reduced pressure. This is not imagination. This is accumulated lymphatic fluid actually moving out of the jawline tissue. For many women, the visible result of this phase alone, before the oil's collagen effects have had time to develop, is a jawline that looks 10 to 15% less swollen and more defined by morning. Phase 2. Release. 1 minute. Now increase the pressure. Using your knuckles, the second knuckle of your index and middle fingers, curled, apply firm, slow pressure along the jawline from the chin outward. You are targeting the superficial fascia and the masseter muscle. You will feel tender spots, tight spots, adhesions. Work them with sustained pressure, 5 to 8 seconds on each tight area, until you feel them soften and release. Then, using your thumbs, I press firmly at the angle of the jaw, the point where the mandible meets the ear, and hold for 10 seconds. This is where the masseter muscle attaches, and it is one of the most chronically tense muscles in women who clench their jaw during sleep or concentration. Releasing this tension pulls the entire jawline upward by reducing the downward muscular tension that has been contributing to the sagging. You may notice immediately after this phase that your lower face feels different. Looser, more mobile, more relaxed. This is the fascial and muscular release. The visible effect accumulates over weeks, but the sensation of release is immediate. Phase 3. Lift. 1 minute. With flat fingers, begin at the corner of the mouth and use firm upward strokes, sweeping diagonally up and outward toward the temples and the tops of the ears. So each stroke should be slow, 3 to 4 seconds, and should cover the territory from the lower face up through the cheek and into the temple area. Repeat 15 to 20 times on each side. This phase delivers the oil deep into the dermis of the lower and mid-face, while the upward mechanical direction of the strokes provides the stimulation that encourages fibroblast activation in the pattern you want, tightening upward, not downward. The combination of the oil's active phytosterols and the directional mechanical stimulation creates the collagen response that compounds over weeks into visible structural firming. That is the complete massage. 4 minutes. Every night. After argan oil application. In the morning, cleanse normally. Any residual oil will have absorbed completely overnight. Here is what you will experience on mornings 1 through 3. The first change is in how the skin feels, not how it looks. The jawline feels different when you touch it, more toned, more responsive, less slack when you press it. The lymphatic drainage has produced a reduction in morning puffiness around the jaw that is subtle but perceptible. Your makeup sits differently along the jawline because the surface is better hydrated and more uniformly supported underneath. Week 1. Visible changes begin. Not dramatic, but measurable. If you take a photograph in the same lighting on day 1 and day 7, same angle, same time of morning, you will see a difference in the jawline definition. Softer jowl lines, a slightly cleaner transition from jaw to neck. The descent is beginning to reverse, not because the tissue has been repositioned surgically, but because the accumulated fluid has been drained, the fascial adhesions have been released, and the early collagen response is beginning to contribute structural tightening. Weeks 2 and 3. The cumulative effect accelerates. 3 weeks of nightly phytosterol delivery, combined with 3 weeks of lymphatic drainage and fascial release, produce a change in the lower face that women consistently describe with the same word. Lifted. Not taut. Not pulled. Lifted. The structure that had been descending has begun to ascend, slowly, through the compound action of the 3 mechanisms working simultaneously. Weeks 4 through 8. The collagen rebuilding reaches a visible threshold. The phytosterols have been stimulating fibroblasts for over a month. The tocopherols have been protecting the new collagen from oxidative destruction. Yet the existing collagen matrix is becoming denser. Women who follow this protocol consistently for 8 weeks report that friends and family begin to comment, asking what they have changed, whether they have lost weight, whether they have been on vacation. The lower face looks fundamentally different in a way that is visible to people who see them regularly. Weeks 8 through 16, the structural transformation stabilizes. The collagen gains made in the first 2 months consolidate. The jawline holds its lifted position. The lymphatic drainage has become more efficient through daily practice. Less fluid accumulates in the first place, independent of the nightly massage. Women at this stage describe their lower face as looking 5 to 8 years younger than it did at the start of the protocol. I want to be honest about what this protocol does not do. It does not replace a surgical facelift for severe sagging. Women who have significant tissue descent, who require physical repositioning of skin and underlying structures, will not achieve equivalent results from any topical protocol. For those cases, surgery produces results that topical treatments cannot match. But for the majority of women who see the early and moderate stages of jowl formation, the women who are at the moment in the mirror I described at the beginning of this video, where the descent is noticeable but not severe, this protocol addresses the causes at the stage where they can still be reversed or significantly improved without surgical intervention. The facelift industry has no financial incentive to tell you this. A $4 oil and a 4-minute massage do not support $30,000 price points. But the French dermatology literature identified these mechanisms in 1978, and the biology has not changed since. What has changed is the marketing pressure around aesthetic treatments, which has made women believe that lasting improvement requires clinical intervention when the home protocol produces real, measurable, visible results for a fraction of the cost. If you have followed this video through, you have a complete protocol. 1 oil, 1 technique, 4 minutes a night. Addressing 3 biological mechanisms simultaneously with a combination of topical delivery and mechanical activation that produces results most women have been told are impossible without a surgeon. That is what Dr. Redmond, Skincare for Women, is here to explain. And not the procedures that cost thousands. The research that shows what is possible at home with ingredients you can afford, and techniques that take minutes rather than hours of recovery. If this is the video that changes what you see when you look at your jawline, share it with a woman who is quietly considering whether she needs to start saving for a facelift, a friend who has started avoiding the 3/4 angle in photographs, a sister who looks at her mother's jawline and is beginning to see the beginning of the same descent in her own face. She deserves to know that $4 and 4 minutes is where the answer begins. Subscribe to Dr. Redmond, Skincare for Women. Every video on this channel follows the same principle. Find the research, remove the commercial noise, give you the protocol. The next video is already waiting, or it covers the single morning habit that prevents the collagen loss that causes jowls in the first place. A 30-second change to your existing routine that slows the mechanism behind the descent you have been watching in the mirror for years. I will see you there.